We are in the second podcast of 2019, still sitting in a roundtable format. Barbara, Corey, Mihul and myself talking about the next generation thoughts around 2019 trends. And what's really fascinating this week is we jump into kind of ways that we operate at BCD and the thoughts around that. So if you're yet to hear part one, step back a week, listen to catch up with context, and we are really excited to share with you part two of a roundtable, next generation on a world of BCD. So will university and will what they teach in university be able to be at the forefront of what I need to move into the workspace?
I think that they're always going to be relevant. However, I think that the degrees don't hold the same weight that they used to. They're more so equivalent to a high school degree because everybody's getting them, and it's not so much setting anybody apart anymore.
I think there's two sides here. You know, a degree, depending on the field that or field of expertise you want to go in, is going to be necessary. But if you talk about maybe perhaps in the technology field, maybe I think it may not be so necessary. Like I'm not looking for someone who's had a computing engineer degree. I'd rather hire someone who has the aptitude to want to learn, has obviously the basic common sense understanding perhaps of technology or how to work in a professional environment and to conduct themselves.
When we look at some of the economic graphs looking forward into 2019 here, let me give you the top three potential jobs when it comes to this AI and or soft skill balance, okay. Right? The number one was called a blockchain developer, and the top skills involved are things like cryptocurrency, solidarity, and then the number two one was a machine learning engineer. Machine learning, TensorFlow, Apache, stuff that, you and I would talk about over dinner anytime, right? But then when you scroll down, you've then got things like a relationship consultant, banking, retail banking, loans, consumer lending, account management. You've got things like assurance staff, financial reporting, internal controls, relationship management. So there's this balance here of the real hard technical skills, using words and probably technologies that we don't even understand, to then things that we could all do. A sales development representative, was number 9 on the list.
Yeah, I found it an interesting point, Chicka, because I think we always talk about digitization, more technologies coming in, AI, machine learning, but I think the human interactions are getting more and more important because we kind of lose it at one point. So I think, especially now also for children and younger generations, and I mean, we also at the tail end, and we just entered the industry, but still I think it is crucial to be able to interact with other humans. And I think it is important, maybe that's even a point for universities, to teach both the human touch, human relationship points and the technology one, because I think we shouldn't get rid of that, because this is going to be crucial, and yeah, we should keep up with that as well.
Let me just pull us out of the rabbit hole for a second, and let me come back and ask the three of you. When you're working at BCD, this idea of being human, and we hear the word family at our company a lot, what is it that you value from your managers and your leaders? What are you looking for in your careers at BCD to be more human?
I think certainly from my side, I look for my leadership to give me the space to be creative and be able to put my opinions forward. Now, maybe all the time, or not all the time, it will be able to get the right traction it needs, but at least I have an avenue of someone listening and committed to moving my ideas forward. Putting that idea in my head to life, or trying it even. It's fine if we fail, but let's try it. So I think that's sort of one side of it. And actually, no, I'm going to stick with that because that's very important to me.
That human interaction, because I do think that working virtually, you can start to feel disconnected, and there is the benefit of being able to spend more time with family and working from home. But I think my managers do a really good job of just checking in and turning on video when we're chatting so that you have that face-to-face interaction still, even if it is over a screen. And it's just those little tweaks that I think some managers are making, but I think company wide we could do a much better job of doing, and it would really increase that kind of feeling of humanity and connectedness.
At the end of the day, we're still a person sitting behind a screen. Okay, we have emotions, we have our good days, we have our bad days, and sometimes we need to vent with our managers. I'm having a bad day, or I'm not getting a response on this email, and that all helps, on a day-to-day basis to keep us productive. We need that let's say that space to vent. And as long as if you can have that space to vent, I think your working life or day-to-day life is a lot more healthier, for sure.
Corey, you brought up another great point there about the idea of working virtually. I'm wondering if any or all three of you have experience, because we as a company, US, I think we're above 50% now. In many of the other regions we may not have that culture yet, but certainly there's different parts of our company that are very heavy virtual versus being in the office. What do you prefer? And if you do prefer one or the other, what are techniques that are working for you to keep that human part alive?
One of the things here is coming back to what we talked about earlier, having that human touch. So for me to also be able to come into the office and speak to people within the company who work towards the same goal as me helps me or stay motivated. So today on a Friday I'm in the office, but after work I can have some downtime with the colleagues. We're in a great part of the city, so I think it's a fine balance that you need. But hey, for some people, being virtual 5 days a week works for them. It's fine. Everyone's different.
There is a very happy medium, and I think especially for the younger workforce coming in, it's important to keep that in mind, because being fully virtual can be difficult. If there was an office near me, I would definitely be visiting it at different points to feel that connectedness, to get that kind of refuel. If
is that something that you need? Do you need that refuel? You need that face-to-face, even though you're a younger generation?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really hard for, at least speaking for myself, but other people my age that I've spoken to that work at the company, we see all of our friends going out after work and getting drinks with their coworkers, and we don't have that opportunity, and so we feel like we're missing out on that human touch. The reality is that a lot of us don't have kids yet, and so there isn't that motivational pull to want to stay at home 24/7. We want to get out, we want to be social and meet new people, and so I think that kind of blended environment, if we can somehow make that happen, that's the ideal world for me, especially if our offices get some foosball tables and beanbags.
Yeah, I fully agree with Corey. I think it's really important to have this balance, because I think sometimes it's a misunderstanding. People think the younger generations, they don't want to interact anymore. Everything is via technology, but I think we are as connected as we've never been before. And I think we want to be connected. That's what we're searching for. And not only in a virtual environment, we want to connect as well on a human level. And I think this is what is difficult with this virtual setup. I think it's great. We can embrace it. But I also prefer to going to the office. I actually go more to the office than work from home, just to having that. And I think, especially in the beginning of our working careers, I think we need this exchange. We need other colleagues to share their experiences. And yeah, I think it's challenging. It offers a lot of opportunities, but a lot of challenges as well, to feel this connection and not feeling completely disconnected and remote.
If we can make our offices a place that people want to spend time in, because I think that's the other big issue right now is nobody really wants to spend time in our offices, because now everybody is working virtual, so you go in and you almost feel more lonely at the office than you would at home. And they're all kind of cubicles, which people in our generation it's just not warm, it's not welcoming, it's not conducive to collaboration and creativity. And, that is one of the benefits that I think having offices that people want to spend time in is you do get that additional collaboration between the different generations. You get the experience, the new ideas, and it just fosters a more collaborative environment for sure.
Do you like it when your boss post 6 p.m. shoots you a text or an email because you are hyper connected? Or do you prefer, mentally at 6 p.m. to be shut off? Or are you fine at 10 p.m. responding to an email? Like, talk to me a little bit about that work-life balance and how all three of you agree or disagree with it.
For me, I'm part of that generation. I'm connected on the phone. I'm connected at the wrist with one of those, watches. So, if I'm on the tube and my boss messages me and, asking me, oh, are you aware of this issue? I'm more than happy to just sit there and be like, yeah, I know this, type of way on my phone. I'm more than happy with that because, in terms of being connected, I don't think I ever fully disconnect, if I'm honest with you. I'm always connected in some way. So, for me, I think certainly for this generation, I think it'll be fair to say that, if someone messages you and it comes onto your device, you're more than likely to respond to it.
What I also had to learn, and especially as someone joining a company, I think you should still be able and allowed to say no. So I think that's like the important point. I don't mind being connected. I don't mind getting a text at 10 p.m. But I think it's also about setting expectations, setting, you're in a busy project, okay, I'm available, I'm going to be online, just shoot me a text, and I'm going to do that also at 10 p.m. But then also there are days, and I had to learn that to say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on a concert this evening, I won't be able to respond at all. So I think it's just, I love working in this global context, but I think it's also really important to set expectations and be allowed to say, no, I'm sorry, it's 10 p.m., I'm just done, I'm tired. I cannot concentrate today. I'm going to do it tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
And I think, Barbara, to your point, I think it's nice to hear from your boss, before you're wrapping up for the day, they say, hey, listen, you're done for the day, sign off, get out. I don't want to see an email from you, a message. And when you just hear that from your boss, you can see that, he or she is respecting your downtime.
Yeah, I think going off of that too, that's one thing that BCD balances really well, right? Because we may get texts or emails at 10 p.m., but it's also made very clear that as long as you're getting your work done, if you need to leave a bit early one day or go to an appointment, that's fine. And so I think it is just maintaining that balance and that flexibility.
So a human tip that I've tried to really implement into my role over the last year has been to respect you, my partner in crime. And so if I have a thought at 10 p.m., instead of sending it at 10 p.m., I've started to put delays on it so that it gets delivered at 8 a.m. to be not only respectful for you to feel like you don't need to connect with me at 11 p.m., but also so that it's at the top of your pile come 8 a.m. And so I'm trying to create for myself with the people that I operate with a work-life balance. And I was taught that by one of the US recruiters. And another piece has been this idea of the integration of Skype messaging. How many of you on this call have felt that Skype is now almost becoming the new email, or it's eliminating email to sometimes become the new email, or sometimes you get a Skype message that should be in an email that's in a Skype message? Let's talk about those protocols for just a second while we're there.
I think it's actually an interesting thought because sometimes even I even ask myself, like, should I write an email or just like IM someone quickly? But I think it really depends on if you need a response immediately or not. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I haven't thought about that before because it's just so normal having Skype. I think there would be something missing. I think it also adds this human touch in some way if we relate back to that before, because you just get an immediate response. But I think we shouldn't overuse it for issues that should be in an email.
It's just how you manage that Skype message. You can simply turn around and say, okay, you know what? Let's get on the phone or schedule a meeting and talk about it. And so, rather than sending an email, now you've scheduled a meeting to talk about what you needed to, or what that person wants to get from you.
Have you ever messaged somebody that says they're offline?
Many people.
That makes absolutely no sense. Hey, they're not even here, but I know it's going to go to an email if they don't get it here. I'm going to just see, and you get the YT. It's like YT question mark? Well, no, I'm not. I'm offline. Corey, any thoughts on Skype, and where is that going, do you think?
It's hard for me to have input on Skype because being one of the newer people in the company, I'm still trying to figure out that protocol, right? Chicka, you've even told me before, like, that should have been sent in an email. So I think that's something that I'm trying to figure out because from my viewpoint, right, it's kind of like a text. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I view it. And at certain points, I will send mini novels over text message. So why not Skype? So it's just kind of figuring out, how it works and what the best uses for it is.
And I think that, like any good manager to employee relationship or peer-to-peer relationship, it's you set the ground rules. If that doesn't work for you, let them know. And I now know with Corey to do it this way or not to do it this way with Chicka or to do it this way with Barbara and Michal. I think that it's open and transparent communication that wins at the end. Well, as we wrap up, thank you so much for the insights today. I know that we talk generation, and whether you're a seasoned veteran or whether you're brand new to the company, really it's about being human and asking for what it is that you need, as well as asking for clarity on what you don't know. So I guess the question I want to end with, so we can bring this back and land the plane at BCD, when you think of yourself developing over the years here in your career at BCD, is it your responsibility? Is it the company's? Is it the managers? What's your opinion on that?
I think it's ultimately the individual's responsibility. And in terms of, whatever topic you want to learn, whatever challenge you have, you need to go out and figure that out. However, it is nice to get feedback from your manager on, what they see from you. Almost maybe like a post-mortem, perhaps after a project, what could you have done better in order to give you some positive criticisms. And, then from there on, it's down to you how you take that baton and move on with it. Now, as it relates to the company, I think, doing a fantastic job in encouraging learning and continue with that. Now, what the employee and the manager does thereafter is down to them, ultimately.
You bring up a really interesting point about feedback there, Michal. When you say that you want a post-mortem project, again, coming back to responsibility, do you approach your manager to say, I would like to review how I did? Or is it the manager's responsibility to say, oh, I know that he's just finished, let me go and give him the feedback? What would you prefer?
I would go back and ask for feedback, for sure. But at the same time, I think, the manager could as well approach that conversation to you, in your one-to-one perhaps, mm-hmm. Hey, let's look at this and make those development steps.
Barbara, do you prefer your feedback or glorious? Like, do you like the sandwich of glorious feedback, here's what you need to work on, finished by, oh, you're a really good person? Or do you just prefer it straight up in my face, tell me what I've done right, wrong, let's get on with it?
Chicka, you know me, I'm German, so I prefer the straight up to your face one.
Wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah.
No, I think we all have different personalities, so I think people actively reach out to their managers saying, hey, please give me feedback, I need that, I want to grow. And some, they might just be shy or just within the company since half a year, or a manager has 15 to 20 reports under them. So I think it's really about, I really appreciate if my manager is sensitive to that, knowing, okay, she hasn't reached out to me in a long time. Maybe I should ask her how she is. Maybe she just doesn't want to talk or feels not well. So I think we also, in my opinion, as the other said, I think we are responsible for our own self-development. I mean, also managers, they're humans. They have their own agenda. They also have bad days at some days and want to progress in their own development. So I think we should all be kind of sensitive to each other, empathetic, and then trying to find the right way of communication with each other.
I think that's a great way to wrap up this conversation and roundtable today, because we are in the middle of performance reviews at the company. And so many of us are sitting down right now to have that one-on-one formal conversation and not only talk about what we can get better at, but talk about what is in the future for us in 2019. So from a talent development standpoint, BCD is probably better than it ever has been in terms of providing offerings for that, the 10% of here are the videos you should watch, here are the soft skills you can pick up here, here's what you can acquire when it comes to learning. But truly as a company now, we are really shifting our focus to the do, or the application of the development. So I'm so glad you watched 900 videos on, emotional intelligence, and now you're a subject matter expert. But what are you doing with that to your day-to-day job? So the encouragement to all of our listeners out there is to, have the candid conversations, the courageous conversations with your managers as individuals, but also then be courageous enough to plan what you want for this year, because BCD is in a position where we can provide that to you. So to Barbara, Mihal, Corey, thank you so much for your insights. I can't wait. We may even have to have a regathering here towards the end of the year to see whether anything shifted in the marketplace and or at BCD based on the conversations we've had today. So thank you all.
Thank you, Chicka.
Thanks, Chicka.
And to all of our listeners that have joined in over the past year, we appreciate you sharing this with all of your colleagues, as well as knowing that we have a full year of podcasting ahead. I, Chicka, would really appreciate if you have some ideas as to different topics that you'd like to hear about. Perhaps you'd like to join a roundtable or create one for yourself where we can continue the conversation as to how as BCD we can develop ourselves and therefore the company towards success.